Welcome to the Lean Solutions Podcast. This is the podcast that adds value to leaders by helping you improve performance using process improvement solutions with bottom line results. My name is Patrick Adams, and this season I'll be joined by three other amazing hosts, including Catherine McDonald from Ireland, Andy Olrich from Australia, and Shayne Daughenbaugh from the United States. Join us as we bring you guests and experiences of lean practitioners from all over the world. All right, I think we are live out on LinkedIn and Facebook land. Hopefully this episode is live in the right places. It's always a little clunky just because of the connection with the third-party StreamYard and LinkedIn. So I apologize if we are not live in the right place, but I know we're live somewhere out there in LinkedIn land and Facebook land. So welcome everybody. As you come in, please let us know in the comments where in the world you are at. We'd love to welcome you in onto this episode of the Lean Solutions Podcast, live 2025, and we're excited. It's going to be a great year. So we're just giving everybody a few minutes here to log on, and then we will do some intros and kind of get started into the topic of, is lean still relevant in 2025? That's what we'll be talking about. Is lean still relevant in 2025? We'll talk. We have some great questions. We're going to poll the audience. It's going to be a really, really fun time. So I'm looking forward to it. So again, welcome everybody. If you are logging on, please drop your location in the comments. Let us know where in the world that you are from. Say hello in the comments. We'd love to take a moment to welcome you and also maybe ask you a few questions. So we'll see how that goes today. Well, let's go around the room here and just do a quick intro with maybe a little bit of an icebreaker to get to know our hosts of the Lean Solutions Podcast. Those of you that are new to the Lean Solutions Podcast, I will just let you know that as of 2024, we changed things up a little bit. So prior to 2024, we had one host, and it was me, and I got lonely. I needed some friends. So I invited a few others, right? So I invited a few others from around the world to join me in 2024. And I will say, I think it's been a blast. I've had a ton of fun and got to know these guys on a deeper level and had some really, really great guests in 2024. We shared some of those stats in our last episode. But this time we wanted to go live and kind of kick off 2025 in style with a live episode. So here we are together, and let me just take a moment and introduce our host then. So Shayne is from Nebraska, and Shayne, the icebreaker question that I have for you is, yes, what is your favorite food? What is your favorite food?
Either hamburgers or pasta.
Okay.
Just gonna
hamburgers
very
or pasta.
Vague, any form or shape of. I just love to stuff it in my face. I'm not a picky eater.
Okay. All right. I like it. What if you had them both together? Would you do that? Would you do spaghetti
that would be amazing.
And a hamburger together?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
I would put Alfredo on my burger and eat it that way. Probably eat it with a fork, but I would do that.
Love it. Shayne, can you just tell our audience a little bit, just a short little glimpse of your background?
Sure. A short glimpse of my background. I've been a pastor. I've been a operations director, and I've worked for the state of Nebraska. And now I'm an entrepreneur. That's a big word to say today.
Love it. Well, you've been a great addition to the Lean Solutions Podcast, and love having you on the show, Shayne. I'm excited for 2025. It's going to be
Me too.
It's going to be a great year. If you are just logging on, I'll just ask you to drop your location. Where in the world are you listening in from? drop that in the comments, and we'd love to just kind of see where everybody's from. I see Hessam on. Good to see you in Kansas. We have Scott from Iowa, Lynn from Iowa as well. So welcome, and we're excited to see you. So go ahead and everyone else drop a comment and let us know where you are. Let's go to Andy. So Andy is from Australia, from down under. Hello, Andy.
G'day, mate. How you going?
It's going good. So my icebreaker question for you is, what's your favorite book? What would you say is your favorite book that you've ever read? Could be audio, could be any book at all. You pick.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough one. I got a couple of favorites, but I think there was a book I read when I was a little bit younger than I am now, and it was a book called A Fortunate Life by A.B. Facey, and it's not a big book, but it's about a young guy growing up in Australia in the early 1900s, and sort of rolls through some of the challenges he had and working out in the bush as a jackaroo and all sorts of things. So, but it just was a really nice story about seeing the positives in challenges and rising through them. So I always look back at that book and think that was one that really was good for me to read at the time. So I'll end with that one.
Love it. That's great. I might have to pick that up. That's a good book. It sounds like a good book. I've never read it, but it sounds good. Okay. And Andy, can you give the audience just a little bit of your background?
Yeah, sure. So I started out in a trade background, and then I've worked in various maintenance and operational roles. And then I was fortunate enough to get some Lean and Lean Six Sigma training and qualifications. And I've moved through that to make that my day job. And I really enjoy the people side of that. And here I am talking to you guys. So that's a speed date version of how I got where I am.
Love it. I always love your examples that you bring to the show. So
Yes.
I appreciate you being on, Andy. Once again, just kind of going back to our audience here, I see Fayaz from Dubai, Chris from England. So we have a number of people that are logging in from around the world. Great to see all of you. If you're just coming on, say hello in the comments, drop a comment. Just let us know where in the world that you are at. We'd love to see that in the comments. Also, like and share this out so the rest of your network can jump on. We're talking about the relevance of lean in 2025, whether or not it's relevant. So we'll be talking about that here in just a minute. Just letting people log on and kind of going around the room, introducing some of our hosts for 2025. So let's go to Catherine in Ireland. Catherine, my icebreaker question for you is, do you prefer cats or dogs?
Really there is a right or wrong answer with this, Catherine. Yeah. I just want you to know.
Because I prefer dogs, but I have a cat. Because I don't like the work that comes with dogs at this point in life. So I have a cat. She's lovely.
Oh, nice. What's your cat's name?
Millie.
Millie. All right. I like it. That's great. Catherine, do you mind telling the audience a little bit about your background?
Yes. So my background, I worked in the nonprofit and the service sector for a good many years before I went back and retrained as an organizational behavior consultant, and then kind of found out about lean, went and trained in lean. And now I own a business called MCD Consulting, and I'm a lean business, organizational behavior, and leadership coach. So that's me.
Love it.
That's a full portfolio.
Yes, it is. We have a wide range of experiences in the room, so that's always good. All the different examples from different industries that all of us have had experience in, and just being able to relate some of those examples back to the concepts that we talk about on the show is always fun to hear and enjoy. So. Well, let's dive into the topic, everybody. So again, if everyone would like to comment, we're watching the comments. So if you have questions, if you want to add to the discussion, throw it in the comments, and we'd love to read those and answer them if possible. We'll do our best. But we're going to be talking today. The topic is Lean relevant in 2025? So I came across this this survey that Industry Reimagined put out. Industry Reimagined 2030 surveyed small, medium, and large manufacturers and prepared the State of Lean Manufacturing report. And inside the report, it reads that 30% of manufacturers achieved competitive advantage and averaged 80% gains in productivity by applying lean concepts in their business. An additional 28% achieved significant gains, averaging 40%. Overall, 95% of the businesses that were surveyed gained at least 20%. Or had at least 20% in gains that they reported. So I think those are some pretty great statistics when we think about lean and applying lean concepts, methodology, developing a lean culture within an organization. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Those are some great numbers. What do you guys think?
Sounds about right. And
I'm just disappointed. It's just manufacturing as always. Where's all the other studies in every other sector? Why is it always manufacturing? We still don't understand the benefits that lean can have because there's not enough research being done on the other side. So great to hear about the manufacturing, but I want others,
That is
we're
a
the
really
government.
great point.
We're the service transaction, organizations. We're the nonprofits.
Yes.
That do a lot of lean. I mean, they're out there. We just don't have the research for it. But I think you might find very similar results.
Yeah, maybe maybe higher even. It would be nice to see some of those reports as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today as we get into lean and its relevance in 2025. I mean, lean has been a cornerstone of continuous improvement for decades. And the reason why this topic, I think, is so important, not just in manufacturing, as you guys pointed out, for all industries, is because things are changing rapidly right now. All of these technological improvements, advancements that are happening so fast, with automation, AI, just this. Everything digital is just transforming the landscape so quickly. And so the question, it begs the question, right? Is lean still going to be relevant? Are we still going to need lean in the future? And so I want to, I guess, just kind of start with a poll. I think it would be good for us to, poll the audience here and kind of see what we come up with. We're gonna try to do this, see how it works out here. But we do have it's in menti.com. So if you, on your cell phone, on your laptop, if you go to menti.com and you use the code 68012991, and we're gonna leave this poll open even after this episode airs, or I guess after the live is completed. We're going to go in and I'll just leave this open so you can continue. Even if you're listening to the re-record on this, you can go in and join in the poll. But go to menti.com, use code 68012991, and let us know which of these challenges, or what are the top challenges? Which one of these would you say is bigger than the rest? What's going to be the number one top challenge for lean in 2025? We have integration of AI and lean practices, sustainability of lean practices, expanding lean into non-manufacturing sectors, and lean in hybrid workplaces. Those are kind of when we went out and Googled top challenges for lean, these were the top 4 that popped up. So we will leave that poll open. Again, it's menti.com, code 6801299191. And we'll come back to that here in just a little bit. But we're going to leave that up for now, and we'll come back to it. So what do you guys think? I mean, Shayne, what are your thoughts on top challenges for lean in 2025? Do you see one listed here that you would say is going to give us some work? Like
definitely the AI integration of AI. I think that's just everywhere. It's just a given. We need to accept it and figure out how we're going to be able to use it in lean. And it's fun to watch that kind of technology edge that we're at right now, and how people are like, oh, hey, we could use it to do this and this. And there's all kinds of attempts at trying to make it work. Let's use lean let's use AI to brainstorm how we can fix this. And some of them just fail miserably. But as I've often said, it's okay to have bad ideas, because it's on those bad ideas that we stand up good ideas. So I'm leaning for that first one that doesn't have all the votes. Come on, people. Like, that's going to be a big challenge. I want to see more on there.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, AI, again, AI things are happening so fast. It's hard to even keep up with all of the advancements in AI. And it does, make me wonder, like, how can we best integrate lean with all of these different AI platforms that are coming available. So that's definitely one that we'll dive into here during the hour that we're live. Andy, what do you think out of this list? Any stand out to you as being a real challenge in 2025?
Sustainability of lean practices. I know that's we say it's one of the hardest things to do. I think that one, and the obviously the hybrid challenge that's still around, although a lot are coming back to work. But how do we sustain what we've done? There's a bit of churn in some industries. How do we keep that momentum and keep people on the discipline with just the basics? So I really see that, seeing it down here quite a bit in Australia. It's especially as we've gone into COVID, we've gone into this hybrid space, and now we're coming back into the more physical space. There's things that are having to sort of be tweaked again. So I really think that one is a standout.
Yeah, I agree. And it looks like as of right now, the audience would agree that sustainability of lean practices in 2025 is kind of leading the charge here with our poll of the audience. If you're just logging on, go to menti.com and use code 6801291, and that will bring you into this poll. We're just wondering, what are the top challenges for lean? Now, if you think there's a different challenge in 2025, drop it in the comments. We'd love to read that out loud and discuss it as well. So these are the top 4 that we have on the poll right now. Were top 4 that came off through Google AI, told us, basically these are ones that we want to look out for in 2025. So please, we encourage you to use the poll. We'd love to see what happens there. Also, I love seeing some of the comments that are coming in from different places around the world. So please, if you're logging on, drop a comment. Let us know where you're at in the world. I see we have someone from Almaty, Kazakhstan on. So that's pretty cool. England and Dubai and all across the US. So that's really cool to see as well. Catherine, what are your thoughts on these 4 here? Any one that stands out for you?
Just a question. When you say sustainability of lean practices, does that mean the whole, control aspect of once you embed lean, it's the kind of making it work and making it stick? Is that what you're talking about?
That's right. Yeah. So it is the sustainability of lean practices. So once deployed into an organization, we say in the US, flavor of the month, right? Something different every month and nothing sticks. But in 2025, one of the top challenges, will lean stick? Will we have long-term sustainability?
Okay. Well, that's been a challenge for years. I don't think it's a new challenge, but it's definitely an ongoing challenge. I think the AI will be a challenge. For me, it's so unclear how people are using AI. Every company knows a little bit about it, not a lot. If we are practicing lean in 2025, we want to use AI, but we don't know how. There's no rules. There's going to be a lot of messing, even more waste when it comes to trying to use AI. So I think it's the top challenge because there's the most unknown around it. That would be my view, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a really, really good point. And I agree with everyone. So it's interesting to see, with the audience, as some of those polls are coming in, it's interesting to see that. Obviously, all of these are going to be challenges in 2025. So these are, and there's others, right? Has some just listed another one in the comments. He said another challenge is still lack of awareness, still running into many folks who don't have a whole lot of ideas about lean benefits and advantages. It's so true. Even just the education of applying lean properly in the right way and the benefits that can come from that. I mean, that's always been a challenge, right? Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And and then that's where the deployment for mine is so important, and getting the clarity up front around what it is and what it isn't, I think. And that if it's not clear, or it's done to people, all those things that we've talked about a bit on the podcast, it does go sideways, and that awareness is that can be skewed from the start, or it can be lost as more and more people come in with different persuasions. So I think that's a really good point.
And I'm curious, how many of our business schools are teaching the lean as part of getting a business degree? Like, not just hey, these are some, extra classes you could get, some electives if you want, but I would think if I have a business college, I would want my graduates to be the most successful they can. So I would be giving them the most, the best tools that they have out there to be able to do it. And I don't have, very many data points. But I'm just curious as to, especially the smaller colleges, the community colleges, that are looking for that little bit of an edge over, the big Ivy League business schools, Harvard and Princeton and Stanford and whoever else might be out there. Are they teaching this? Again, it speaks to that point of the lack of awareness. Like, do our people that are coming up, or to the young people that are coming up into business and wanting to run businesses, do they have this knowledge? I don't know yet. I'd be interested to, to find out how many do.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And I would even, go as far as to say, well, so on the business side is what you're asking. I know there are universities that obviously teach it in engineering, supply chain engineering, but definitely like business would benefit any business students. But I was going to say, I would even go as far as to push it to high schools. I mean, think about, if high schoolers and middle schoolers were learning about these concepts early on, and then could apply that, later in life. And again, lean is applicable in any industry, in any career, any place in the world, right? So there's definitely that opportunity there, and more and more schools should definitely jump on board with that, I would say. Okay, I'm going to remove this poll for now. And let's go back to the conversation here. Funny, Christopher Westall, he made a comment or asked the question, is there still waste? Right. I think this kind of goes along with one of your thoughts, Shayne, around the question of relevance, lean relevance. What do you want to?
Right. I'm just going to tell you right now that waste is trendy now. I mean, let's not try to eliminate all when it's clearly a hallmark of modern office culture. And to think about it, waste is adaptive. It teaches you resilience. Just think about how many employees have to grow stronger, finding workarounds for these inefficient and complex, systems that they have. I mean, it's true. Eliminating waste may reduce stress and increase capacity. But, really, who wants that? Stress keeps everyone on their toes. Stress is how I build muscles. So I'm just thinking, waste is trending now, 2025. It's going to be a wasteful year. Let's take it.
Okay, all right.
Do you think it's the language, Shayne? Do you think that, because actually I don't use the word waste a lot, because when I worked in nonprofits starting out, they did not like the word. Like, I worked with people doing frontline work, and if I went in looking for waste, that was me telling them they were wasting their time and they didn't like it. So I tend not to to use the word waste. I use the word noise sometimes, which people tend to prefer because they can accept that there's noise, distractions to get rid of. But do you think the language is a barrier?
I think, I think it depends. I mean, it depends on how it's communicated, for sure. I think for organizations that have adopted lean as their continuous improvement methodology, I mean, if they're developing a culture of continuous improvement, and they've taught it as waste, or the 7 wastes, the 8 wastes, then it makes sense to people, right? But for many organizations that are learning about process improvement or lean for the first time, understanding what is the right language that connects with people. We've talked about this before on the show, but sometimes some companies don't want to use words that are associated with traditional lean because maybe they've had bad experiences in the past. So understanding and knowing your audience and meeting them where they are, I think is super important, right? If noise makes more sense.
Yes, exactly. I was going to say, so it's super important. And so is giving language to hang ideas on, and I think waste gives you that, but you're right. It does have, especially for in my culture, like when I was doing continuous improvement at the state of Nebraska, I had to have a good 15-20 minutes on what waste means, because they think of waste as something that you just throw away. So when we're talking about process waste in their process, we're basically telling them, hey, your process is trash. What you do is trash. And that is totally not where you're going with. So I love where you're going with that, Catherine, in having a handle to hang ideas on that makes sense for the people that you're working with.
Absolutely.
And I just to add to that, if I may, I think that's where we're talking about change and how we apply change in an organization. One of the biggest things, I think, is finding out what's in it for me, and pointing, if we're bringing in lean or we're getting newcomers to get connected to what everyone else is doing, it's really getting clarity and pointing it at the pain. What frustrates you in your work, and getting that connection between what the value of the thinking and the ways of working and the leadership styles that lean provides. Connecting that, but like you said, things to hang ideas on. It's like, well, I don't want. I've done lean at this place before, and I don't like it. But gee, this over here is really kicking my butt, and it's trying to get that connectivity with what it means for them and what's in it for them. Because I think just as humans, unless there's something in it for us, really, that we can connect to, we might give it a go out of compliance, or we might actually go, oh, is this actually a way out of this? And everyone's going to help me do that. Okay, well, maybe I am on board. So I definitely think when we get back to that, why are we even doing this, and how can we use it to make ourselves more successful? And Ryan Tierney's commented about it's, in the session we had with him, was around, it's about developing people, and it's not about the tools. So that's where it comes back to that foundational philosophy piece that I'm really passionate about. So it's change.
That actually leads me into my first question that I want to pose to us and also to our audience who's listening in. By the way, if you're listening in and you haven't dropped the country or your state, wherever you're at in the world, drop that in the comments so we can see where you're from in the world. And if you want to involve yourself in the conversation, we'd love to please, post a comment or pose a question about the topic. Is lean still relevant in 2025? We'd love to engage with you, and we can do that right through the comments. So the question that I have is, what are the biggest challenges to lean's relevance in today's tech-driven world, specifically talking about digital tools? And we have all these digital tools that are now available, and they're available to help problem solve. And so, does that change how we as lean practitioners solve problems in our work environments? Does it eliminate lean practitioners because now we have these digital tools that are solving the problems for us? What do you guys think? Let's go to Andy. What do you think?
I think it's like anything, Patrick. We tend to overdo it. We tend to get distracted by the shiny objects, and we just jump in and just want to put it on everything. Like if we're using AI for process mining, that's great, and there's a lot of things that are happening in that space, but are we looking at the right processes? Are they in the eyes of the customer what we should be focusing on, and those sorts of things, the application of. So there's organizations that are looking into AI now, but technically they're probably at industry 3.0. They haven't gone into the 4.0. It's the same thing around when there's a change we try to fully automate things and then see what happens. I definitely think it is some real efficiencies and gains that are there. I just think that we just have to have the people connected to it, because otherwise we may go a little bit too far too often. So that's really my early observations is with, people who are replacing, writing their own papers with Chat GPT, for example. Straight away, the smart companies are going in to see, well, actually, that's been written by, there's ways that they can interrogate. Well, that's not really you. That's a machine telling us that. And that's all of that is dependent on someone teaching that, and then it learns from there. So again, if the data in, data out, if it's skewed from the start, we should use it collaboratively, I believe, and experiment and learn as we go. But there are some organizations already publishing some things about we got too carried away already, and we're trying to wind that back because we got distracted. So there's a bit in that, I'm sorry, but that's really my whole take on that and where I think it can really help us. But let's not get too carried
and
away.
Andy, it's interesting because I think Lynn kind of speaks to that, what you were saying. digital tools are still tools. They're helpful, but the core, the thought process. One of the, to give an example of how we use it at the state, digital tools are all the rave. But we had a great relationship. My team, the continuous improvement team, had a great relationship with our IT department, in that everyone wanted to automate their stuff. But if you automate suck, it still sucks. Now it's just faster. So the great thing, that the partnership that we had, was when they got a request or a proposal for, wanting to procure some kind of software digital tool, the IT department would send it to us and say, hey, will you sit down with these people and figure out what it is that they do, what it is that they want, and let's reimagine the process to make sure we take out all the noise before we try to automate it. Sit down with the people that actually do it. And we would bring in the IT people so that they would understand, oh, hey, I can help here and I can help here. We'd just have a process map. And whenever we were done with the process map, we'd bring them in for like an hour or so, and they would just kind of poke around and go, yes, we could help with this and this and this. And that collaboration, with lean and with digital, that collaboration brought, some pretty amazing things, made some pretty amazing things possible.
And I think that the beauty of lean for me is the simplicity of all that data. This is what it's giving us, just so much data. Like, what do we do with this stuff, and how do we, chunk it down into what connects with the person in the moment on, at the front line, who isn't, right in the data and things. And that's what I love about lean, is we can bring that down into some simple visual practices and tools, and then that can connect for that worker. Again, where do I fit in with all of this, and what about all that other stuff that we talked about? So again, I think it's complementary, and keeping it visual is, I think it's a great combination.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to go to another question, Catherine, just posing this to you, because you've done quite a bit of work in the non-manufacturing space. So lean kind of originated in manufacturing. Is it still applicable in other industries like healthcare, nonprofit, government, IT, banking industries? Would you say that lean in 2025 is still necessary and needed in those other industries?
Well, for a very simplified answer, lean essentially, when you break it down, is about continuous improvement, and it's about respect for people, involving people doing the work, right? If you look at it in a real nutshell, that's what it is. Everything is based around those two concepts, right? So yes, is there any industry out there who doesn't need to work on their respect for people, their inclusion of people, plus continuous improvement? I would say the answer is no. So therefore, I would say lean is still relevant in absolutely every industry. There is challenges, of course, within other industries. For example, in the service sector, I've worked in busy cafes and bars and hotels and restaurants, and they struggle a little bit because of the pace of work. So I do think it's not the same. And well, I mean, manufacturing can be like that too on busy lines. It's just about changing the mindsets of people in different industries who haven't maybe heard of lean or understood that lean requires a little bit of pause and reflection and thought. But it's absolutely more important than ever, I would say, with everything that's being thrown at us now. So it's absolutely applicable. And you'll see in Ireland, we have lean for micros happening all across Ireland. It's their local government initiatives. And you have every industry partaking in those. And every one of those organizations goes through an evaluation at the end, and they're published. So there's so many reports of lean in these industries and the impacts that any type of lean mentoring has on them. So it's 100% relevant. I absolutely think that. Not without its challenges, but definitely relevant.
Right. Shayne, what would you say from a government perspective with your involvement in the state of Nebraska? Would you say with all the digital tools, with AI, with all these different things that are happening right now, is lean still relevant? Will it still be used in the government space?
I want to get kind of snarky about this, because the government space is really all about serving the people. Like of any of the industries that I can think of, and I guess they all want to serve the people, but definitely like they are chosen to be stewards of our tax money and all of those kind of things, our resources. So how can we, lean gets all fancy and trying to simplify things, but I'm just going to be a little snarky and say, you know what customers love? Customers love complexity. Their complexity is like a mystique. Customers want to engage with a puzzle of how do I work around this process of getting these government resources? So why should we really make things simple? Simplicity is boring. It's predictable. Complexity, now there's a premium right there. I say this tongue in cheek, of course, but in the government space, it is needed so much because of that focus on the customer. Who is our customer? And sometimes the government, in the government space, there's so many layers or levels that it's hard to see. So it was challenging as a practitioner, when I would go in and talk to people deep inside the building that never got to see the public out there, challenge them to think about, hey, who's your customer? Let's actually put a face to that customer. What do they do? Do they have a dog? Do they have kids? Do they have hopes? What do they want to do in the morning when they're on their way to work? All of these things, just to give them, like, flesh this idea out of, oh, we're actually serving a real person here. And these things that we're doing help us to best serve that purpose and those people that we have. When we have that mindset, no matter what industry it is, but it's definitely, I think, huge in the government sector. How can we better serve our people? Well, we can make the processes, we can make the systems, the applications, whether it's the DMV or whether it's, working in the right of way or applying for SNAP benefits or, trying to do your taxes and working with the tax service there, whatever it is. Lean can certainly help us better serve those people. And just in that itself right there, I found that when I can explain that to people and get them to catch on to that idea, they were so willing and interested in, you're right, let's improve this. Let's see what we can do to make this better for those that have to go through this process. So yeah, it totally makes sense to me.
Love it. Go ahead, Andy.
I was just going to say, I absolutely agree. Having experience working in a state-owned corporation, there's, as a region grows and the customer expectations are increasing, that's great, and we can do all those things, but it comes at a cost. And the more we do, unfortunately, the customer at some point will be charged for that. So if we're trying to deliver the same or more outcomes without putting that additional cost of living pressure, especially at the moment with what's happening in various parts of the world, lean is absolutely a way to reduce that waste that we talk about. We can deliver those outcomes, but with less error, less defects, improved quality. Like, that's where I really see if there was ever a time that we really need it. I think if it's not now or in a crisis, then when is it? So I really, that's the connection there is, we can do that. Let's talk about the what, but the how is where we can use lean and that type of thinking in our people to get to that outcome, but with just a far less of that exciting complexity that you talked about, Shayne. So
yeah.
It's just the messaging. Yeah, the messaging and what we need for us and the people who are on this call is help us share more of those stories, because I think that's really where we'll get the cut through. So I agree. There's a lot of regulation, red tape in government for sure.
Yeah. And
I
think you kind of shoot, I lost my thought with the red tape. I had a plan. You said red tape, and the wheels just fell off because.
Sorry, mate.
No worries.
I think. So.
Keep going.
No, I'm done.
So before we move on to the next question, I just want to pause for a minute. I want to throw up another mentee, because one of the reasons why we're here today is not only to talk about the topic of relevance in 2025, lean relevance in 2025, but also we want to poll you as the audience and ask you, what topics would you like to see in 2025? What would be helpful as you start facing these different challenges within the year? If we were to put a schedule out there and have certain topics that and guests that talk, experts that are going to talk about those topics, what would help you in 2025? So if you go to menti.com and use code 68012991, you can drop a response in there. And again, we will leave this poll open even after the live recording is done. So if you're listening to the replay on this, you can still go to menti.com, use code 68012991, and just drop in some thoughts or ideas around which topics that you'd like to see in 2025 as episodes on the Lean Solutions podcast. Also, if you're not subscribed to the Lean Solutions podcast, you can find it on your favorite podcast platform, anywhere that podcasts are offered. Just search Lean Solutions podcast and you'll find the podcast, and just make sure you subscribe to it. That way you get updates when new episodes come available. So let us know any topics. You can also drop those into the comments as well. But we'd love for you to use the Menti survey link here. We just had one drop in: capturing and measuring the waste of not doing or following through with improvements. Yeah, that's a good one. I like it.
That one's painful.
Yes, it is. Okay, I'll leave that up, and we'll see as a few more responses come in. Again, feel free to go to menti.com, use that code, and let us know any topics that would help you with the challenges in 2025. So we have about 15 more minutes left. I want to talk about when we did the last poll, those top 4 challenges. The number one challenge that our audience said was sustaining lean in 2025. So as organizations are deploying lean into their organizations, as they're developing learning cultures, as they're working on deploying principles of lean, the question that I have is around the leader's role in sustaining lean. So if we're all going to say that lean is relevant, which I think we all do say that lean is relevant, how does the leader's role need to change, or what are the right behaviors that leaders should be displaying in order to support long-term sustainment of lean practices in 2025 and beyond? So with that, let's start with you, Shayne. What do you think?
Because I'm going, a little bit averse here, a little backwards. When you said, the leadership's mindset, I just want to say the continuous improvement is overrated. I mean, really, what are we trying to prove? Progress just creates more work. I mean, let's face it, improvement implies there's something wrong. And there's really nothing wrong. Honestly, striving for excellence is exhausting. So I can't imagine why leaders would even want to strive for excellence. Those are just the ideas that I think of. And then what also comes to mind is from leadership is all the challenges that they're facing. Hey, I don't have time, I don't have the staff, I don't have the money. All of these things that are these immediate glaring golems in front of them. It's interesting to note that Lean can actually help those. Oh, so you don't have time? Great. Then you need me. Oh, so you're low on staff? Fantastic. Then Lean can help you. Oh, so you don't have any money? Well, great. Let's find ways of, shoring up the revenue that you do have and making sure that you're not wasting the precious resources. So that forward-thinking mindset in leadership to be able to humbly acknowledge, hey, there might be some things that we could improve. And also like project into the future, that forward thinking of, and let's work on that. Let's not wait to do that until everything is all calmed down, because I don't know when business actually calms down. But instead of waiting for the right time, as I think Andy mentioned, what better time than now, than in a crisis? What better time than when things are topsy-turvy and so unsettled, to try to create some standards and to try to create some systems that are robust and to create some things that actually make it easier, better, faster, and cheaper for your employees to do the great work that your organization does.
Love it. Along those same lines with leader behaviors, and I was going to go to Andy on this one and just ask about, like, in 2025, do we need a command and control leadership style, or do we need a servant leadership style that empowers teams? Like, with all the changes that have happened, do we need to go back to traditional management and the command and control mentality, or will a lean leadership mindset of, again, servant leadership that's empowering teams, will that work in 2025 and beyond? What do you think?
That's a very good question. I'm not sitting hard either side of that. I think, and sorry if this disappoints, it's a little bit on the fence in some ways, but I think that, look, the servant leadership, the mindset, I think in environments where people have a choice of where they can work and what things they can do for a career and what gives them, enriches their lives and helps them be successful. And I think the servant leadership model certainly attracts those and retains those types of people and drives those more positive results with team engagement and, people helping each other to get it done. There is a piece there, though, up the other end, where I think if we are starting to slip from the standard or there's a call that's got to be made, that I think there is at moments, with the customer in mind and the bigger picture, I think there is a little bit of that stick still needed in some ways, or to bring things back on track, to stick with it. Because as we talked about a crisis or whatever, if it's when we're really under the pump and stressed and things are all going wrong at once, it is kind of easy to sort of step out and, we'll just get back to doing. Everyone just go and get it done, and we'll regroup later. So I'm sorry that I absolutely believe that servant leadership and leaders who serve it certainly build better teams and deliver better outcomes, but it can be a slow burn. And I think, just being told what to do, I think there's enough history, and we talk about research. I think we know that, long term it doesn't end well. So there you go. Glean from that what you will. Yeah. Servant leadership. We need to try and stick to that as much as we can.
Yeah. No, I definitely think humility, active listening, a commitment to continuous improvement. And obviously all of the other aspects of being a servant leader, they are still relevant in 2025. And I think not only relevant, I think that that type of leadership style is definitely going to allow companies to thrive in 2025. Catherine, what are your thoughts on this topic of sustaining leadership and just leadership behaviors in general in 2025 and beyond?
I've always believed in, I guess, coaching leadership, because that's what I have taught. I've seen the benefits of it. But I will say that I'm seeing more and more that it's not the only leadership approach that's needed out there. I think in times of uncertainty, we do look to leaders for more guidance and direction. So I do think in 2025, leadership is all about balancing structure with flexibility. I think we need leaders who have a clear vision, who can communicate that vision really well, who can set expectations, who can shine a light on a path. I think we need leaders to do that. But I also then think within the boundaries and expectations, it's important to coach and develop people, and work with people almost like a partnership within those boundaries. So for me, that's a little bit like a balance, a dance, that you just look at what's needed at certain times of the year, of the month, of the week, and you choose your approach based on that. But it is about balancing the two, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. And also makes me think about executive leaders or decision makers at companies who are maybe listening to this, and they think, is lean something that would help my company? Like, what would you guys say to someone like that maybe they're learning about continuous improvement for the very first time? Maybe they read the Toyota Way and they just learned about TPS and the value that it can bring to their organization. But maybe they're wondering, like, the Toyota Way was written a good number of years ago. Is this, will this still help me in 2025? A lot has changed. Shayne, what would you say to an executive that is questioning that and wondering, kind of skeptical? Is it important? Should it be important to me?
Yeah, I mean, the idea of lean, and you can, speaking to you saying, hey, the Toyota Way and all those things, those came out in the 80s, and lean's been around forever. But lean in its nature is progressive. Lean changes and shifts and adapts, and always looking for what that next best is. So even though it might be or have been around, for so long and used mostly in manufacturing, it's a totally different, I don't know, a great analogy. I'm trying to think of what it could be, but it's a totally different system than it was. I shouldn't say totally. It's significantly different than what it was before, when it was first just, hey, this is it. It's very systematic and it's very much about manufacturing. It's grown and evolved. And the beauty that I love about lean is, no matter where you're at in your lean journey, there are things you can do. There are principles you can use that are going to benefit you from the get-go, right from the onset. It might take a while to really show that in your financials, but guaranteed it will show that in your financials in so many other ways. But it doesn't have to be, you don't have to swallow the whole thing all at once. There could be just, what are some of the principles? What are some of the core principles? Let me do those. Or what are some of the tools that we could implement into what we're already doing really well? I love how lean has been kind of adopted into the healthcare and, in the healthcare system. And they had some great things they were doing before, and they found out, hey, this lean thing, these stand-ups, the boards that lean uses, man, we could use those. We're already using something similar. So I love how adaptable and adaptive it can be to whatever the situation might be.
Yeah. And I love that you said that lean has evolved, because it has. It's changed. And, there are obviously the principles are the principles, the concepts are the concepts. But, many companies, as lean has, come out of manufacturing and has become very relevant in other industries outside of manufacturing, different solutions have been created based on the problems that they're experiencing just by applying scientific thinking and developing a learning culture. So they're experimenting and solving problems and coming up with new solutions that again, are making their processes more efficient and their organizations more successful. So, that's a powerful piece, I think. And I love that you used the word evolve, that lean is evolving. Catherine, what practical steps can leaders take to keep lean alive in their organizations? If they're already committed to, and they're utilizing lean in their organization, they're communicating it. It's part of their culture. It's embedded in their culture. Going into 2025, how do they keep the excitement, the motivation, the relevance of lean, at the fingertips of the workers in their organizations? Any practical steps that you would recommend?
Yeah, so I think it starts with leading themselves. So I think it starts with leading and organizing themselves. So
Come on
first
now.
of all, something like leader standard work. If you look at your leader standard work, what does that tell you about where you're spending your time? Are you spending your time keeping lean alive, doing Gemba walks or teaching people how to do Gemba walks or coaching people or doing structured problem solving? Because if your leader standard work is not showing that, you're obviously not keeping lean alive as a leader. So I think the whole area of time management and leader standard work is absolutely essential, and it's where to start, even just to get a synopsis of how well am I doing this right now, versus what should I be doing as a lean leader, and to ask yourself those questions. I think that's really important.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And as we start to wrap up here and kind of closing up our time here, we got about 4 minutes left. I wanted to just kind of go maybe around the room with some key takeaways, or number one key takeaway, just to kind of summarize what we talked about over the last 60 minutes. And maybe start with Andy. Maybe Andy, what was your, during our conversation today and what we've talked about around just lean and its relevance in 2025 and forward, what would be one thing that maybe stood out to you during the conversation today?
For me, it's really, again, the alignment of, there's a lot of things coming at us now, and there's a lot of challenges. The rate of change, technology is really taking over a lot of things. And for us, it's to how we can still anchor ourselves into the core principles and why we're looking to keep our people and customers at the heart, but then leverage all of these great things that we've invented to support us and become more efficient without overdoing it. And talking again is, if we're looking at exploring this or keeping this alive, really about what problem are you trying to solve? And there's not one tool or one cookie cutter way to do it. So I think it's more about anchor ourselves in, what this is really about and what it's meant to be. And then how can we, I guess, exploit all of these amazing things that through lean and other types of innovation we've got at our disposal without getting too excited. So that's, bit of the new, bit of the old, and keep people involved.
Absolutely. Yes, for sure. Catherine, what would you say?
I guess I'm a little worried, because I do think lean, as you have highlighted, all of you, that it has to evolve. I'm a little worried we are sticking to the old traditional ways, and we are getting overwhelmed by the new ways, the technology, the AI. My hope is that we'll figure it out, and it's okay to be worried, and it's okay to believe we'll figure it out. I just think we have something to go through over the next year to try and figure all that out. I don't really know what that'll look like yet, but I do believe there's work needed to figure this out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and again, the principles are the principles, and understanding value from the eyes of the customer, like that does not need to change. We need to understand value from the eyes of the customer, but how we do that and how we deliver value to the customer, depending on the industry where we are and all the advancements that are happening, some of that is going to have to change, and it has changed, and we just have to accept that and understand it and help our companies make that happen. So I think that's a really good takeaway. Shayne, what would you say?
I really appreciated what Catherine mentioned here just most recently in regards to sustainability is going to be on leadership. And I've seen too many leaders that bring in the expert, the continuous improvement expert, send them on their way, but they don't absorb the principles and the core things so that they can help sustain their teams in doing this. So I loved what you mentioned, Catherine, there, that leadership is super important in how well your lean efforts and your continuous improvement efforts stick.
Yeah, love it. And I would say for me, I think the conversation just around lean's human-centric approach, and not that, we have all these digital tools and AI and all these things that are coming out. Those aren't going to replace the human decision-making. Rather, they're going to complement and augment what we're already doing from a human approach. And I think that that's one of the things that we really have to key in on as we go into 2025, understanding and knowing that we don't need to be scared of AI and digital tools. They're not going to replace lean. As we talked about earlier, waste is not going away. We still have waste. We always will. Or noise, as you say, Catherine. So there problems, we're going to experience problems. So utilizing digital tools and AI and all these other things that are coming to augment and help us to make better decisions, I think is the key. So, so we're going to leave you with that. And as we are at the top of the hour, I just want to thank everyone for logging on. And again, we'll keep those surveys, the Menti surveys, open if you want to just help us pick episodes for 2025. And also, please share this out. And if you have not already, subscribe to the Lean Solutions Podcast. You can do that on any podcast platform. Just search Lean Solutions Podcast. You'll find us. Subscribe. We're also posting all of our episodes on the Lean Solutions YouTube page as well. So you can subscribe to that as well. So there's lots of different ways that you can find the podcast and also share it with your friends. And hopefully we can offer you some value in 2025 around how to keep lean relevant and utilize the tools, the techniques, the principles to transform your organization in a positive way. All right. Well, thanks a lot, everybody. And I'll see you on the next episode of Lean Solutions Podcast.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Lean Solutions Podcast. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe. This way you'll get updates as new episodes become available. If you feel so inclined, please give us a review. Thank you so much.